All right, we are alive. Excellent. Hi, Joachim. I knew you'd be here. Welcome. It's good to see you, my friend. All is better with me. I am still recovering a bit from COVID, hence why I didn't do the stream yesterday. I just wanted to kind of give myself enough time to feel better. But luckily, streaming doesn't take too much energy to do, so feeling up to it tonight. I see your question about bathhouses, and I will come to those in a second. I'm just gonna wait a little bit and give it my usual kind of starting off 5 minutes, and then we'll kind of jump into things as we wait for people to join us. So I'm just gonna take 2 seconds to go on Instagram and just post my story saying that we are live. Okay. Oh, voice volume is low. Thanks, Joaquin. I meant to mention as well, I am going to do a sound check this time in an attempt to kind of fix things. I also have to make sure that my mic is fine. Righty-ho. Is that any better? I've adjusted the audio. Let me know. GC, what games would you recommend for archaeology and anthropology? These so many games, really. This game is my original game that kind of really got me interested in history and ancient civilizations. I started playing it when I was I think 7 years old. I'm probably still almost as bad as I was when I started playing it as a kid. So anybody that's coming here to try and watch somebody do a really good job of playing these games, I'm sorry, I am just going to disappoint you. Other good games. I enjoyed the Tomb Raider series. I particularly liked the latest trilogy is good, but I really enjoyed the last one and kind of the immersiveness and research that they did in portraying Mayan and Incan cultures in Paititi. I've done reviews of those on my channel if you're interested. I haven't really played many of the Indiana Jones or the Uncharted games. I think that's just largely, I don't know, for whatever reason, they just don't appeal to me. My favorite console game of all time is Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy, which is from 2003. I played it on Xbox, and it's like Zelda but in ancient Egypt. I love it. They have remastered it for Steam with some mods that you can add of extra levels that were cut when they were making the game, which I fully intend to get and play eventually. I also really, in terms of late new games to play, there's a game called Nebuchadnezzar, which is the same. Shadow of Set is the name of the expansion, Joaquin. Sorry, what was it? Nebuchadnezzar. So Nebu, Chad, Nezar with 2 Z's. It's on Steam as well, and it's very similar to the one that we're going to play today, Pharaoh, in that it's a city building game but set in Mesopotamia, so kind of Iraq area, and covers the Assyrian and various empires, Babylon, all that kind of stuff. I actually got a copy of that for free when it first came out because I reached out to the developers to ask so I could review it on my channel. And I still play it, but I don't play it as much as Pharaoh. It's a very much more a logistical game, and that's just not where my strengths are, if I could be said to have any strengths when it came to gaming. So anyway, volume seems to be okay. I'm going to turn the game on, and we're going to, if you guys can just tell me if my speaking ratio to the game sound is okay so that you can hear me. We'll do the sound check and then we'll just kick right into things. Bit of a bug there. All right, so I'm just talking a bit here to fill some space. Let me know if the sound is okay for this. I'm just gonna rearrange my screen so that I can still kind of keep track of everything while we play. I have like 4 windows open right now on my computer, guys. It's actually kind of crazy. Game volume is a bit low. Thanks, Vavorka. Or sorry, Joachim. I will turn it up a bit. Alright, how's that? Vavorka's asking how was Berlin? Berlin was lovely, except for the fact that I brought COVID back with me. I've basically been sick all this week. It was really great. I've never been to Berlin before, and my husband and I decided to go there for our like 10 years of being together anniversary. And we both really enjoyed the trip. It was a nice direct flight for us. We stayed in a cool hotel with some good transport links. And I planned one day, he planned the other day of what we did while we were there. So obviously my day was museum day. We went to Museum Island, which is where it's pretty self-explanatory. Ironically, maybe frustratingly is a better way of saying it, the Pergamon, there's kind of 3 main museums in Berlin. There's the Altes, the Old Museum, the Neues, the New Museum, and then the Pergamon Museum. And the Altes Museum is famous for the head of Pericles, the busts of Cleopatra and Caesar, some other things that I'm forgetting off the top of my head. I was most excited about seeing Cleopatra's bust. Like, I got right up close to it without touching it. And then the new museum is famous for its exhibit on Akhenaten and Nefertiti, and obviously the really famous Nefertiti bust. So you're not allowed to take pictures of the Nefertiti bust like in the room that it's in, so I don't actually have a picture of me like with it, but that's fine. I don't need that. Just being able to see it in person was good enough for me. But they had also like a really cool exhibit of a bunch of stuff from Akhenaten, which is like the the city that they built for themselves outside as their new capital. And then the Pergamon Museum has the Pergamon altar and the Ishtar gate, which are basically 2 gigantic pieces of architecture that the Germans lifted and transported from their respective places to Germany and then rebuilt them inside of these museums. I really wanted to see the Ishtar Gate. People probably also know it as the Babylon Gate. It's the one with the blue bricks. And it was like the entrance to Babylon, built by Nebuchadnezzar. But unfortunately, as I said in Archaeology News, it closed 2 weeks ago for 4 years to get refurbished. So I'm sure that refurbish is much needed, but I guess it means I have to go to Berlin again. But yeah, it was good. Right, we're a few minutes in, so we're going to kick everything off with my little intro. So, welcome everybody. My name is Rachel. If you're new here, I'm an archaeologist, and my love of the archaeology is partially inspired by this game. So I wanted to kind of find a way to engage with my viewers more, and I thought what better way to do it than to play this childhood game that I know pretty much inside out. Doesn't mean I play it well. And then also use it as a bit of a teaching tool to tell you guys about the different levels and the pharaohs and everything that's kind of name-checked in the game. So we're working through one level at a time. These streams tend to last about 2 hours, and they're live on the channel after if you don't have a chance to check them out. at the time that we're playing. So I have a playlist for all the previous streams if you haven't watched them. I'm not saying you have to watch them, but certainly there's lots of concepts and things that we discuss that we then build on in successive streams. So, you know, I can't repeat myself for like absolutely explaining everything. So definitely I try to structure these so that if you've attended the last stream, you know, we're kind of building upon what we do. That doesn't mean that you can't watch it if you haven't watched them previously, but just some things might make a bit more sense. So just a quick recap. Last time we built Djoser's step pyramid, which at Saqqara in the 2600s BCE. This is like the first monumental stone structure in ancient Egypt. It is the predecessor to the later more famous pyramids at Giza. We coincidentally managed to finish the pyramid right as the stream ended, which was a success. So now we're going to move on to the next level in the Old Kingdom. But as per usual, we actually have a choice. So we can actually also, again, usually I let you guys pick between the two on a map, but I haven't played the level through to where I win. So we're just going to go to the choose a mission and we'll just pick. So the next two missions that you can play after you finish Saqqara, which is this one, are Serabit, El-Khadim, and Meidum. So I'm going to leave it up to you guys to choose which mission we're going to play today. So they tend to, there's a choice between a more peaceful mission and a more military focused mission. So in this case, yeah, I'm going to put it into the chat and you guys are going to get to do a poll and choose which one we play. After I put it in the chat, I'm going to give you a little description of each level so to help you pick. Awesome. All right, so the poll is up. Oh, and it's completely covering the chat for me right now. That's great. One sec, let's see if I can, oh, okay. Joaquim asks, so is it really the bust of Cleopatra or is it Cleopatra Selene? I would, as far as I'm aware, when it comes to that statue, they think it's Cleopatra the Seventh, not her daughter, Cleopatra Selene. I think it was found in like a Roman villa, but they don't, I have to look it up. I'm not confident that it's from the time of her life. I think it's shortly after she lived that it was probably made, but it may or may not be during her lifestyle. I'm gonna just look it up one second. I was actually looking this up for my own personal research a few months ago, so yeah, Cleopatra Alta's Museum, Berlin. Da-da-da. I'm just gonna look this up to refresh my memory. The Green Caesar. That's fine. Marble bust of Cleopatra dates sometime between 40 and 30 BCE. So during her lifetime. I was wrong. Sorry. Recovered from the Via Appia in Rome. So yeah, we think it comes from a private villa, and we widely accept that this is her portrait. And we know this because she has like a really distinctive hairstyle, and it matches kind of other sculptures and portraits that we think are of her, and it's also in the Ptolemaic style. Really cool thing about it that you can't really see on a lot of the photos is that there's kind of this like purple stain all over the hair, and as some of you may know, statues were usually painted in antiquity. They're not just like bland marble, and so recently there's been like a lot of interest in polychromy, which is kind of looking at these statues with, I don't know, special x-rays or something like that, or special tools to kind of see if we can recreate or see what these colors were. The Cleopatra one They have done a polychromy study on it, and it's got this kind of, like I said, this purple staining that they think wasn't necessarily from paint, but was maybe from some kind of glue or something that was holding down like gold leaf. So maybe it was gold leaf that her hair was decorated in. You can really distinctively see it if you see it in person. It was really cool. Anyway, I told you I would tell you about the 2 levels that we're doing today. So Meidum is a site that's known for its pyramid. That's the thing it's famous for. This pyramid was originally thought to belong to King Huni, but now we know or think that it is probably more likely that it belonged to his successor, Sneferu. It's a significant site because it shows a transition from stepped to straight-sided pyramids. And we know this because essentially when they were building it, they were still figuring out the math. So they actually got the angle of degree on the slopes wrong and made other mistakes during its construction so that the sides of it actually like collapsed. So I do have a picture here of the pyramid. I'm just gonna scroll through quickly. That's what it looks like today if you were to visit the site of Meidum in Cairo, which you can. Yeah, it's not no, it doesn't really look much like a pyramid. Serabit Kadim is a mining site in the Sinai, known for its temple to Hathor. This will sound familiar because it's very similar to what we did in Timna. It is the more military-sided level, and it's also famous for the fact that at this temple to Hathor, they have found a set of inscriptions in what is called the Proto-Sinaitic script, which is now thought to be one of the precursors to the alphabet that we currently use. So interesting things at both sites. Just kind of depends on what you guys feel like watching me play today. Serabit Kadim is currently winning at 75%. I will wait a few more minutes and then we will kick things off. Yeah, the Cleopatra statuette was really cool. I don't care about the Julius Caesar one, to be perfectly honest. And it's kind of funny that they have it set up in the museum so that he's kind of creeping on her from behind. But they have some really other cool things at both of those museums, so they're definitely still worth visiting, even if you can't see the Pergamon Museum. But yeah, they were really cool. I have a cider to celebrate being mostly COVID-free. What are you guys drinking, if you're drinking anything, on this lovely Saturday afternoon, evening, morning for some of you? I'm also interested to know if anybody feels like putting it in the chat. And I think I've asked this before, but I forget what the answer was. If you guys prefer a Friday night or a Saturday night stream, because the Friday night is easier for me because I tend, like, if it's the weekend, I tend to have plans. So it's easier for me to do something on a Friday night because then I'll be out doing things on Saturday and Sunday. But I also know that, people, I assume, attend these from different time zones. So Friday might be in the middle of the day for you guys if you're at work. So I'm interested to know what times work best because I obviously want to try and maximize the audience of the amount of people that can join and stream with me. But yeah, Joachim, it looks like you're right. It looks like we're going to be playing Serabit Kadim, or Serabit El-Khadim. So we're going to go to the mission, and that I will play the intro, and then we'll start, and then I'm going to go through kind of the dynasty of the Pharaoh and a couple different things I think mentioned in the briefing.
Like Den before him, Pharaoh Huni has ordered an expedition into the harsh land of Sinai to acquire turquoise, gemstones, and copper. He wishes you to lead this expedition to a place called Serabit Kadim, where the building remains of an earlier Egyptian outpost may still be found. Their current condition is unknown, but they may still provide some means of defense for the expedition. You should be aware that the last such expedition sent to this area never returned. A later expedition sent to recover them also did not return. Nevertheless, if we are to arm our soldiers adequately, our kingdom needs copper for making weapons, and this metal is scarce in our land. Prepare yourself, for you will be under constant threat of attack from the Bedouin of the Sinai Desert, and from our enemies, the Canaanites. Mine what copper and gemstones you may under these conditions, and be prompt in fulfilling Pharaoh's requests. You may employ jewelers to use any surplus gemstones to fashion jewelry for the people occupying the settlement.
Cool. So, yeah. Oh, the Bedouin. They get such a bad rap in this game. And the Canaanites. Precursors to the people who live in the Levant. Right. Let's have a look at this level. So we've got some ostriches. And we've got some walls. Helpful, except for a nice big gap there. Not so helpful. Another gap here. We've got some gold here. Lots of spots. Right, and let's also just look at the map. So Serabit Khadim. Khadim. That's probably how you properly say that. As we can see, this is in the Sinai. This is, I mean, as close as this, as I can tell, close to where this actual place existed in real life. So we've got Saqqara over here, the capital of Mennefer. I'll also say as well that the name Serabit Khadim for this level is the Arabic name, in case you didn't know. I couldn't find what the Egyptians actually called this. I don't really know if they called it, like, had title for it, because it wasn't like a city per se in terms of how we're building it in this game. It was a mining settlement, so to speak. So I'm gonna start off and do some houses, some housing blocks, and then we're going to and then I'll start reading your comments in the chat and we'll move on. Fab. And we're just, this is like the, I don't know, quick and dirty version of way of playing this game. It's not the, if I was playing this by myself and I had lots of like time and, you know, ways to like kind of think about what I was doing, I would definitely play this game a lot differently than when I play it when I stream for you guys. Because for me, it's more about like getting things going and then having time to chat to you all. Who's my main god? Let's check. Ra. Okay, so it's a good thing I've built a temple to him, because I have learned that when you don't build temples right away, I forget, and then the gods get really mad at me. It's not fun. Right, I'm also gonna build a bridge just here, and I'm gonna use this like a nice little kind of industrial part of town. So then I can use this for my hunting lodge and start getting some. Do I get a dock in this? No. Granary. Fine. Put a roadblock there. Ah, smart Rachel. Oh, but I still have a huge amount of unemployment. Crap. Right, I'm gonna start with, I'm gonna put some mines over, let's see where the gold is. So it's over here, kind of, and over here. It's very spread out. I don't like that. Right. also don't have that much gold to spare right now. So we're going to have a copper mine here, and a gemstone mine here. Have that go there. Actually, I'm gonna probably end up having that as my thing. Okay, I have some houses. Firehouse, Architect's Post, Police Station. We'll have storage yard here. I've got room to expand if I need it. Cool. Oh, I should also start with some military stuff because if I'm not careful, that's gonna creep up and bite me in the butt. I'm gonna start a second little settlement over here. Actually, make that slightly bigger. Let's not go too far too fast. Right. Joachim, if you prefer Friday, good with me. Currently 6:48 in Sweden. It's currently almost 6 o'clock here, or 18 o'clock here in the UK. So, oh right. Yeah, it would be good if I did this, wouldn't it? Oh, I screwed this up already. Jeweler as well. What were they? Ivan asked, what were they mining for in this area? Turquoise, largely. I know the game says copper and turquoise, and I'm sure copper is mined there as well. But when I was reading about these sites, turquoise is the mineral of choice, I suppose, is the correct way of saying it. In this area. Now we're gonna go for I'm gonna make myself a little military area. Oh, somebody wants to give me chickpeas. That's nice. Some roadblocks here. Because if I know anything that yes, I know. Okay. Sorry. I need to accept chickpeas. That's nice that people want to give me food. I appreciate that. This one accepted too. Cool. Have you ever seen the Assassin's Creed Discovery Tours? Would love to see you go through those. I've played the Assassin's Creed Origins. I bought it a few years ago when I first heard about it, and I was like, ooh, this is really cool. And I tried playing the game, but I've never played Assassin's Creed before, and I don't know, it's just, again, it's just not a game that overly appeals to me, I guess. So, I didn't play it. I played it a bit. I basically played the bit where you can just walk around, like, Egypt, which I did, honestly, I did think it was really cool. But yeah, I'll have to look into it. I know that I did read about how they did a lot of consulting with archaeologists and stuff like that to get the feel of the game right. And like, I even noticed how, because it's set around the time of Cleopatra, like, you could tell the difference between people speaking Greek in Alexandria and people speaking Egyptian when you went farther south, which I thought was really cool. I need another granary. Yeah, I know. I have too much food. No, it's because I don't have a bazaar set up yet. I'll do another one over here. Positions. Also, village palace. What do these guys buy? I'm gonna open a trade route, and then I can sell luxury goods and gems, and then I can get some money, and then I can start taxing people. Oh, I should have done infantry. Oh well. Right, anyway, so now that my city's moving on with its life, let's talk a little bit about El-Khadim and this level and the dynasty and the pharaoh that we are playing under today. So, if you caught it in the mission briefing, both of these levels are set during the reign of Huni. His name may or may not sound familiar to you because there was a Netflix documentary called something, and the subtitle was like The Lost Pyramid, which was released in July on Netflix. And it partially covers the search for Huni's pyramid and or tomb by archaeologists in Egypt, most famously a guy called Zahi Hawass, who, if you haven't heard of him, it's surprising because he is made a very concerted effort to have a career in the public eye as an Egyptian archaeologist. So I've reviewed this Netflix documentary. It's on my channel. You can find it if you want to see what my opinion is on it. You know, broadly, I think I found it was fine. But yeah. Oh, how's this battle gonna go, guys? Probably not very good. Am I gonna lose this level? I hope not. Oh, this is not good. I need some infantry. Right. Too close to enemy troops. Oh, this is bad. Well, I'm not restarting the level, but... Oh, I'm gonna need to restart the level, guys. So, let's see if I can reload. Nope. That's not the right one. Autosave replay? Nope, that's not the right one either. Autosave. We're just going to put an infantry fort out here. And, yeah, I know. See if this fixes anything. Apparently I have a request. See if I do any better this time. I have at least one infantry person. And I have a bunch of police. Maybe the police will help me. Probably not. Who's Bedouin, man? What they got against me, right? Like, I'm just out here, I'm just trying to mine some stuff. Alright guys, I'm calling it. I'm restarting. I didn't, like I said, I didn't promise that I was going to play this game well. I'm just making an attempt. That's hilarious. Okay. Wait, let's do this again. I'm going to take a few minutes to do this, then I'll get back on my Huni tangent. So I leave spaces because I might end up putting what's the word that I'm looking for here? Might end up putting dancing and like festival spots here later. Bigger. It's there. Roadblock, roadblock. I'm sorry, person who has just sent me something in what looks like Cyrillic Russian. I do not speak or read Russian, so I do not know what you are asking me. Supply. It is also easier to restart because now I know that those guys are going to come from that, probably from that area, and I can't just like wimp out and do archers. I need to spend the big bucks and, well, I say spend the big bucks, they cost the same. I need to do infantry. Out the bat. Someone's saying in the chat, I remember watching a reality show with Hawass and some students. Yes! I remember that as well. It's called Chasing Mummies. And it was an attempt at an archaeology reality TV show, which was, I think, very heavily influenced by you know, desired depictions of things. I don't really know how else to say that. Sorry, because I mean, reality TV shows. Sorry to burst your bubble if you're not aware. Are not really reality TV. Like, they might not be scripted, but they're certainly contrived. I think that's the word that I'm looking for. And so, this one, at least when I watched it, and maybe I'm biased, it felt very contrived when I watched it. And actually, when I worked as an archaeologist in Canada, I ended up doing some work with my company that was like, we were being subcontracted to another company, and one of the people I was working with was one of the students that was on that show. And contrary to how he was portrayed on the show, he was a great archaeologist. That guy, he knew how to dig. He had his own like archaeology company, and to be fair, it was a few years after the reality show happened. But we spoke about it a bit, and he said that yeah, like it was very manufactured. So, yeah. Let's make sure that is that. Anyway, Huni. Zahi Hawass is the guy that's looking for Huni, and he used to be, I'm pretty sure you can find Chasing Mummies probably on YouTube. I think I tried watching it a few years ago, but the quality that I found it on was really bad, so I didn't do anything with it. But yeah, Zahi Hawass is known for the fact that he is very, what's a diplomatic way of saying this? He likes TV cameras. He has made a very good job of, keeping the narrative of Egypt in the public eye and in the public interest through his TV shows and everything that he does, and the way that he used to manage things. He used to be in charge of archaeology in Egypt. He was that was his job basically until I think about 2011, and he still works as an archaeologist in Egypt. He's just not the head of antiquities anymore. But yeah, he is very showman-like. He very much and I say this not as a criticism, because you look at anything that I do on my channel, I also do this. He very much leans into the Indiana Jones-ification of things, because that is the thing that people know when it comes to archaeology. So that's he leans into that, and clearly it's worked for him, because I think he has quite a thriving career in his books and TV shows that he produces. Sorry. What was my bath question? I didn't answer it yet, Joaquin. I'm sorry. I've been sidetracked. Egyptian baths. Egyptians are known for being ancient Egyptians. Sorry, not to say that it's different from modern Egyptians, but ancient Egyptians were known for the fact that they liked to be clean. Most of them, especially men, but also women, the reason why we have so many of their wigs, they shaved their heads. They lived in a hot place. People wore wigs. They shaved, I think, probably almost their entire body. They also are known for these perfume cones that you see. That's kind of like ancient deodorant. There basically would be these cones of perfume that they would wear on top of their hair, and then the heat from wherever they were would basically melt that, and then it would make you smell nice instead of BO. I think probably the average person just used a sink bath similar to what we did. Probably used the Nile. They did swim in it. We do have evidence of baths and big pools and sacred pools as temples and everything that people would use. I think basically it's not the same as the Romans and the Greeks in terms of you had this kind of hot bath, tepid bath, cold bath system, but they would have probably used heated baths. What I was looking at while after you asked your question was talking about heated rocks that got put into water. So you make it hot by putting it in the fireplace, and then you put it in a bath. And in higher society homes and stuff like that, we do find evidence of private baths. So smaller areas where you could bathe. Does that answer your question, Joaquin? Let me know. Export some stuff. I'm gonna have to have my village palace here. Alright, I've been excessively sidetracked. So, Huni. He is the last pharaoh of the Third Dynasty. He reigned around 24 years, and his reign ended around 2613 BCE. So this is right now, we're in 2599 BCE. So this is a little later, but this game is 20 years old, and he's so far back in time, I think, especially pharaohs from this period, they're like, what we know about how long their reigns are doesn't tend to be exact, and it is something that changes. So certainly we're in the right ballpark, so I'm just happy for that. The image that you guys will be seeing on your screen now is a colossal red granite head of a king in a white crown that, if you look at his Wikipedia entry or pretty much anything that mentions King Huni, this is the image that people tend to use when they talk about him, because we think it might be him. Although I was doing research in prepping for the stream, and I could not find, with my limited means of being, I don't have access to a academic journals and stuff like that. But what I could find, it didn't say why we think it's him. It just said that it's like a Third Dynasty king, and most likely person is as Huni. If you want to see this in real life, you can find it in the Brooklyn Museum. He is wearing one of the two crowns of Egypt. It's the white crown, which I think is, I have to look up. I always mix up which one. Is it upper or lower Egypt? Upper Egypt. So if we're remembering our geography correctly, that's the delta area. It's the northern area of Egypt because it's reversed. Yeah, so this is the most likely representation that we have of this guy's face. He's a confusing figure for archaeologists because he is remembered very well in ancient Egypt. Like, people talk about him long after his death, but when it comes to stuff from his reign, so artifacts that we can date to being from happening during his reign, we really don't have a lot. There's basically only two contemporary objects from his time with his name on it that have allowed us to figure out that he existed. Is that a bust of him, or is it bust? Well, it's busted. It was probably part of a statue, but yeah. This statue, like I said, there's no name on it. There's nothing that says I am of King Huni. So this isn't one of the contemporary objects that is definitively from his reign. Do I know how long the Third Dynasty lasted? Not off the top of my head. I can look it up though. First Dynasty of the Old Kingdom. So, slightly less than 100 years. You have Djoser, Step Pyramid guy, last level, and then a few other kings, and then Huni, and then that's the end of the dynasty, and the next one is the Fourth Dynasty, which are the pyramid builders, Snufru, Khufu, Khafre, Menkaure. And yeah. Yeah. Oh. So the first artifact that we have from Huni's reign, I'm just showing you now. This is a line drawing of it. I tried to find the actual thing, but I could not find an actual picture of it in real life. It is a conical stele that's made of red granite, so roughly the same material as that head that we just saw. And it was discovered on Elephantine Island in 1909. So Elephantine is like Abu. That's all the way down here. So it was discovered on this site in 1909. Very, very far away. It's, yeah, what I read about it said that its shape resembles a benben stele. Benben is one of the words that they use for the capstone of a pyramid. But that doesn't mean that's exactly what it was. It has a inscription inside it that mentions the palace of the headband of Huni, and it writes his name inside of a royal cartouche. Why is this significant, or is it significant at all? This is the time when we start to see a transition into the use of the cartouche for the name of the king. Yes. This item is currently in the Cairo Museum, and I even have the object number, but I could not find an online photo of it, so I'm presuming if it's not on display, it's in storage. It's been about 10 years since I was at the Cairo Museum, so I don't remember if I saw it there when I was there. The second object that we have from Huni was discovered in 2007. And it's a polished stone bowl that's made of magnesite. Again, I could not find an image of this, or else I would show it to you. It's from South Abu Sir, and it's inside of a mastaba tomb, which are these brick tombs that we've been building throughout the past levels. It mentions Huni's name, but without a cartouche, but it does make mention of something called the Nesjoet Biti title. Do not take my pronunciation as gospel. I did not take Egyptian language classes at school. But basically what that means is dual king, or king of Upper and Lower Egypt. Or that's how we interpret it. What it actually literally means is he of the Sej and Bi, which is a title that you see a lot in ancient Egypt. This is because this is a symbolism of Upper and Lower Egypt. So the sedge is the papyrus plant, and this represents Upper Egypt, which is down here, and then a bee represents Lower Egypt, which is up here, as we see very helpfully on the map. I'm gonna take a quick break here. I'm doing not so bad. I'm gonna take a break in my monologue. I'm gonna put in a palace. Oh, the Canaanites are coming. Great. Maybe I should not do that, and maybe I should make another fort. I'll do archers, and then they can tag team. Why did I even put that there? That's dumb. Gemstone mine too. More money! Oh, I need my bazaar. People need to eat, Rachel. Jesus, I'm so rude. I'm not a very good... I'm not a very good governor. Or what's my title in this, a royal mayor. I'm not a very good royal mayor in this level, guys. Not giving people any food. I'll give them a doctor, though. Nobody likes being able to go to the doctor. Was the dynasties related to each other or brand new bloodlines? This changes. Earlier on, this period particularly, it is less clear where and why the dynasties change. Later on, it definitely becomes like a family thing, but there usually would be like a connection between the two, or sometimes it's because of like a specific event. So the dynastic transition that I know the most about is the one between the 18th to the 19th dynasty. Let me just see. Classified as the first. No, it's the 17th to 18th. So, yeah, and even the 18th dynasty is a bit, it's not exact, but essentially the 18th, uh, the 18th dynasty was the end of the second intermediate period and the beginning of the New Kingdom. And basically, you have Amosa the First, who was from the ruling family that he was the king that helped kick out the Hyksos on the back of his brother's military campaigns. And just a second, I have to put a copper mine in because I'm needing more copper. But then he actually didn't have, he had a son, but his son didn't have any male heir. So then it comes to Thutmose the First, who's the father of Hatshepsut. He's my favorite Egyptian ruler. And they kept it in the family that way because Thutmose probably married a royal woman, and so he was like a general who then married into the family and became king. But that is a pretty, I think, a good example of how a lot of the time these transitions tended to happen. Yes, those darn Hyksos, they just mess everything up for everyone. In that, you know, there might be a family and they just didn't have any sons to succeed them. Or, you know, sometimes there was a powerful general and he decided he wanted to take over. It wasn't always the same situation. Definitely earlier in history, it is less clear what the differences were between the different dynasties. So this far back in time, we just don't have that as many historical sources. We don't have as much artifacts. We don't have as much material. So as I was saying before, like the reigns of the kings tends to be a lot more guesswork in terms of how long they were, and also the relationships between them. So, for example, what was it? This king that we're talking about today, Huni, is the last king of the third dynasty. But there is a theory that he's actually also the father of the first king of the fourth dynasty, which is Snefru. We don't have definitive proof of that. We don't have definitive proof, like, either way. But we're just not sure. And that's not the first time that that's happened. A few words about Chinese archaeology, your opinion. Chinese archaeology, I think that to be honest, I don't know I know kind of some vague, I took a Chinese culture class at university, so I think I probably know more about Chinese history than the average person. And I have actually played Rise of the Middle Kingdom, which is a version of this game but set in China, which I did enjoy, and I found quite interesting. But yes, Chinese history is not my forte. Having read news releases and press releases and done several stories for Archaeology News on Chinese discoveries, it can be a bit frustrating sometimes. Like, for example, I did this the Great Wall stone grenade storeroom that they found that was on the latest edition of Archaeology News. The press releases, I think because of the language barrier, are just really difficult to interpret, just because I don't have the original source, and they don't give me a lot of pictures. It's very controlled, I think. And that's not to say that in other places like Britain it's not controlled. It definitely is also that case, but I think when I see press releases for these things that are being done in like Pompeii or Egypt or Britain, like you do tend to see more photos of the actual things rather than just stock photos. I tend to see a lot of more stock photos in some of my Chinese press releases. My kitten's above and she just put her head upside down for a wee cheese crunch. All the Canaanites are here. Again. I'm gonna have to put some towers up eventually. I'll let the hyenas take care of this for a while. So anyway, we talked about the few artifacts that we have from Huni's reign. Oh, and the Bedouins are here at the same time? Oh, goodness. I don't know where the... Let's see if this is... I don't think that these archers are having a good time of it. I don't know where these Bedouin guys are going. Oh, they're going the other way. Oh no! Stone hand grenades. So-called stone... I mean, they're seem pretty confident that they were hand grenades, basically. They were... And I say stone, I don't think they were like... This is the thing that is difficult with this kind of stuff, is that, you know, they don't provide pictures. So it's kind of hard to know exactly what they're talking about. So I think the way that they spoke about them made it seem like they were handheld. They weren't like bowling balls. 6 months for copper. Alright. I'm gonna replace my gemstone mine. No, this isn't Age of Mythology. This is Pharaoh. It is a 1990s, 2000s impressions game, isometric, and we're playing in ancient Egypt. Welcome, Master of Play. I hope that you enjoy yourself. I don't play this game particularly well. I'm not gonna make any claims about my particular proficiency. Oh, I can't have defensive stuff, so I can't rebuild walls. Oh, that's good to know. I can't rebuild these walls if they get knocked down, so I have to be extra careful. I'm gonna... Recruiter... It's got enough things. I'm gonna do another weaponsmith, because I think I need more weapons so that I can hatch up my things. Oh, I can't do gate towers either. That's annoying. What are my metrics for this? Oh. Alright, I need a personal. Oh, you know what I need? Tax collectors. I have riots on my hands soon. Palace? Alright. Say I need a palace? There's a palace. Tax collector here, tax collector there. And let's put some shrines in to the gods so that they don't get mad at me. Alright. Let's see how this goes. Okay, so outside of Huni, not really having much left from his reign. Like I said, he is remembered in Egyptian history after he died quite prolifically, which is why he's kind of frustrating, because it's kind of like, you know, it's this person that you hear people talk about a lot, but you've never actually met him, kind of thing. One of the most famous places that he's mentioned is the Palermo Stone. And it's in the case of the Palermo Stone, it's talking about oh, I have that later on in my spiel. Where did I write this down? The Palermo Stone is from the 5th dynasty, so it's about 100 years after this guy died. So relatively recent-ish history, if you consider it from the time of his death. And this Palermo stone mentions donations being made to a funerary complex temple of Huni, but this temple that they're talking about, we haven't located it. So when I say donations made to a funerary complex, this is the case of like a later king trying to make himself look good by, you know, restoring and donating and maintaining the mortuary or funerary cult of his predecessor. So, you know, these guys were generally, like, they were god kings. They weren't just mortal beings. And, you know, talking up your predecessors generally was considered to be a good thing to do. Let's give these guys a bazaar. We'll do some more copper mines. Do you work in a museum? No, I do not. I have volunteered at a museum before during my master's. Alright, finish my cider onto water. I used to work as an archaeologist, a paid archaeologist in the UK. I did it in Canada as well. And I have 2 degrees in archaeology. It's not that I wouldn't want to work in a museum, but when I was doing my school, I really enjoyed field work. So, you know, digging things up. I always thought of museums as like arranging collections, and I also know museum jobs are very competitive. So I never even tried, to be fair. Yeah. Anyway, Palermo stone talks about this funerary complex that we haven't found. And then we also have a papyrus called the Instructions of Kagemni, which dates are to around the 13th dynasty. So this is 600 or 700 years after Huni's death. And it mentions him again. So this is the thing, like I said, you know, you're always hearing people talking about him, but you don't hear it from his mouth himself. So that's why it's difficult to establish his identity. It's also difficult because of his name. So we've talked before in previous streams about the fact that Egyptian pharaohs had several names that they used like throughout their reign. They all had different meanings to them, and they all have different purposes for why they were used. I'm just gonna put in another. You can accept these 2. Up until now, basically, we've been talking about and using a lot of the time the Horus name. So this is a kind of one of the earliest types of names that we have for kings. Oh, I didn't realize that shrines needed architectural stuff. Oh, that's gonna tick off the gods. No! Oops. I think this guy's fine. We can check damage. Yeah, this guy's fine. Cool. I have a full... Okay, I have 2 full things, so that means that I need another infantry fort. Put it... Well, I put those guys there. Here. So, Horus name. This is what we've been using, talking about a lot of the previous kings. Huni, we are using his cartouche name, also used to be known as your Serach name. So this was integrated with our Horus name. The way that it would be shown is that you have like a rectangular enclosure that represented a palace that a Horus Falcon or some kind of bird, usually a horse falcon, would be on top of. And so that was the indicator that it was like a royal name. So, and then these serif names get replaced by what we now know as cartouche names. And that Huni is kind of the first time that we have that. So we actually don't know what his name means. In previous streams I've talked about, you know, this guy's name means king of the two lands, or Horus protects him, or whatever. We don't know what Huni means. It just means Huni. We also don't know his exact genealogical position in the family, as I was kind of mentioning before, because we don't really know kind of what the reasoning is between the difference between the 3rd and the 4th dynasty. People in a lot of the documents that talk about Huni, they basically mention that when he died, Snefru became king in like the same sentence. They're always directly associated with each other. So we think they could be related. Maybe they're father and son, maybe they're not. We're just not sure. And we haven't found anything to tell us this information. This is the thing, people always like, what was I saying? People assume that these things are always really direct, or that archaeologists would just want to find gold. That's not the case. I think the best example of this is my professor at university who ran my digs. She always talked about how what she wanted everyone to find on her, like what she wanted people to find at her site, was a sign that said "Welcome to," and then the name of the settlement. Because a lot of the time, that's the thing that you're looking for. You need this proof to be like, yes, this is exactly this. This is who this belonged to. You need these kind of like lead plaques to kind of, that's when we can say this thing for sure was this. That's why I think a lot of the time people are like, oh, well, archaeologists don't know this because they don't know for sure. A lot of the time you can't know for sure. You're just having to make these connections based on what is educated guesswork. And these things are always open to different interpretations. All right, I've almost got time for this. We do have a possible wife for Huni. Her name was I can't even say that. Her name started with a D. We know this because her name appears in inscriptions on beer vases from Elephantine, and it's associated with the title Great One of the Hetes Scepter, which makes her a queen consort. But we don't have any definitive proof about any of Huni's children, or oh god. Alright, apparently I have to start stockpiling luxury goods. And another gemstone mine. What am I doing for employment? Good. As I said, Huni reigned for around 24 years. We know this from the Turin canon, which is a king list. And this is what we generally accept to be the length of his reign. It might vary a little bit. But we don't really know anything else. We don't know any religious things that happened or military things that happened. And the only contemporary documents that we have are things from tombs of high officials. This is pretty standard for this period. And they are date from the end of the 3rd dynasty to the beginning of the 4th. From this, we can see that this was a very prosperous time in ancient Egypt. This is the beginning of the heyday of the Old Kingdom, you know, the predecessor of the economic power that then allowed them to be able to build big, extravagant things like the pyramids that have no economic value and only basically religious value to them. Essentially. We think that he might have built some buildings, but we haven't found any of them. Oh gosh, okay. I'm about to have way too much copper. 1 second, guys. I gotta find someone to sell more copper to because okay. Let's go with 900. Oops. Ran out of money. Oh well, that's fine. So after, as I said, after Huni dies, he has a long-lived mortuary cult, and we don't know where he was buried. The other level that we might have played today, Meidum, we used to think it belonged to Huni, but now we think it's Snefru. And as I said, this is what Hawass was looking for in this documentary. As far as I know, he hasn't found it yet, but this was very recent, so the Egyptian Antiquities Authority tends to kind of like release a lot of their discoveries in batches, so like they do them kind of like at the end of the field season. So it might be that in the next few months they reveal something. At the end of the documentary, they thought that they found something that was promising, so I suppose we will see if they were right. Yes. Yeah, I'm not beating this level today, guys, unfortunately. Oh, okay, I've got a lot of questions from someone called Master of Play and Joaquin. Any First Dynasty copper weapons or tools surviving? And they all oxidized away. I don't know. I haven't heard of any copper weapons. I think a lot of the stuff that I've covered in the previous previous streams they were all stone or ivory. Let's check. Because the First Dynasty is Narmer, so I don't think there's any copper stuff with Narmer. I think it's all stone. You have the palette, and then the only weapons and stuff like that from his era that I know of are like gigantic stone mace heads. So I don't know. Greek magical papyri. Not off the top of my head, I'd have to look it up. Do you believe Akhenaten is a hybrid alien pharaoh? No, I think he was inbred. He was definitely inbred. I know that for sure. That would, like, let me know in the chat, actually. Who knows about the Egyptian, like, pharaonic inbreeding? Let me know what it is that you know about it, because I don't know how much people actually know about these things. And I would be very interested to know from people who are just, like, keenly interested, as opposed to having, like, studied it like I am. Why does his skull look elongated? Well, that is largely an artistic style, actually. I learned this when I went to the US Museum in Berlin this past weekend, where they had the Nefertiti bust and then a variety of other statuary and busts and stuff like that from the Akhenaten's era on display. So, it included that of his daughters, who had a very, like, exaggerated head. And the audio guide, which was free and part of your ticket, and I found particularly useful to listen to, talked about how this was very much like an artistic choice, this, like, skull depiction of them. So we really can't take that as, or we shouldn't be taking it as, that is exactly how he was portrayed and it is 100% true to life. That's not necessarily the case. It certainly is interesting that there is, like, a kind of complete change in the artistic styles of how pharaohs were portrayed during the reign of Akhenaten. You know, it's very, like, singular in terms of, like, it's a very big, like, deviation from what we kind of usually expect. But, there's some people I remember when I was at school, people were talking about, it was like the inbreeding potentially led to you know, genetic diseases that made him, that were the result of why he, quote unquote, looked the way that he did. Other arguments are that so he's known for the fact that he's like the first monotheistic religion person started. I'm not saying this correctly. He's known for the fact that, you know, Egypt was a polytheistic society, meant they believed in multiple gods, and for him, he only wanted to worship one god, the Aten, which is representative of the solar disk. So it's not just the sun, because, you know, Ra is the sun god, but it's specifically the solar disk of the sun. And there's a variety of explanations or theories as to why he decided to do this. Some people have said, or I've read, that it's because he wanted to take back control of, like, kind of religious stuff in the country, because the priests of Amun had grown too powerful. There's some people that think he had a religious revelation. But either way, the sun disk of the Aten, to my recollection, is like sexless. So it's not supposed to be male or female. So as a result, the reason why you kind of see these statues of Akhenaten, where he looks like he's kind of got like boobs and maybe like a bit of a saggy stomach and stuff like that, is perhaps more of a hermaphroditic like representation, where it's supposed to be more like two genders being shown rather than emphasize being like a man or a woman, and it's combining traits of both. So yeah. Please, like, don't take my word as absolute gospel. You know, always do your own research. This is stuff that I'm kind of dredging up from my brain and what I remember of these things from when I learned about them quite a long time ago. And, you know, things change, but yeah. Yes, that's what we think about Akhenaten. What makes you... Well, no, but it's not... Okay, his skull isn't elongated because, I mean, we don't for sure have his body. We have skeletons that we think might be Akhenaten, but we don't know for sure. And also, like, skeletons, I mean... You look at skeletons and they look different than how you think that they're supposed to look. So I think that probably the average person that looks at a skeleton probably thinks that skulls are pretty long. If you look at his skull, to me, as somebody who studied osteoarchaeology, pretty normal. It could be as well that they maybe did some head binding, or maybe he just had an abnormally large skull. We also don't have the body of Nefertiti, his wife, for sure. So we can't say, you can't take ancient Egyptian art as literal, like, depictions, like a photograph, like we would consider it today. You know, our art today is very much based in realism and realism, filters, Photoshop, all that stuff. But, like, you know, our representations of ourselves are very much, they're supposed to be like realistic portraits of what we look like. That's not necessarily the case in ancient Egypt. They had a style, they had symbolism, they had a lot more represented in their art. Their purpose of it wasn't to exactly portray what this person looked like. A lot of the time with pharaohs, what they do is they give them these kind of like, they basically Photoshop them into what the ideal pharaoh features are supposed to be. Yes, okay. Joachim, royal inbreeding in ancient times was normal to keep power, not just Egypt. I mean, yeah, ask the Habsburgs with their chins. Royal inbreeding, yeah, it's something that you see across many, many different cultures, in many different dynasties and whatever. Egypt in particular is notable. I mean, the Incas did it as well, but they liked to breed very closely. You know, the Europeans at least brought it out towards it's usually cousins. But the Egyptians were usually half brothers and sisters, so if not full siblings. So they, oh, come on. I need one more thing. One second, I just need to send off these weapons on this request. Yes, Egyptians took it to the next level because they were fans of, for them, the royal line went through the women, not through the men. So in order to be a pharaoh, you had to be married to a royal woman. She carried the blood of the pharaohs in her body. So a lot of the times you would have, like, pharaohs did have like harems, they had concubines, they had multiple wives. So more often than not, it would be a half-sister and a half-brother would marry. Sometimes they would have kids, sometimes they wouldn't. Sometimes you'd have full brothers marrying. You even had, in a few cases of particularly long-lived kings, they would marry their daughters. I don't know if they would have sexual relationships with their daughters, but, like, yeah, they did it very, very close together. Yeah. So I think I've talked a lot and done lots of chat stuff. I've kind of neglected people over here. So, oh, I've got tons of money. That's nice. Okay, don't need to stockpile gems. How are we doing? Okay, kingdom's happy with me. We're going to import some pottery so that we can level up my populace. And then we'll wrap things up in the last half hour talking about Serabit El-Khadim. Yeah, we'll do pottery first. So many Bedouins. These guys just will not leave me alone. It is really annoying. Master of Clay. Elongated skulls in Peru. What about them? People practiced head binding in the Americas. That's very well known. I'm not quite sure what you're suggesting that says about anything. What do you think of work of Zechariah Sitchin? Never heard of him, so I couldn't really say off the top of my head. Royal Incas binding the heads of baby skip desert, if I remember correctly. Maybe just the fashion. Yeah, I mean, these things, the Aztecs or Maya, I can't remember which. They also practice head binding and body modification. It is not something that's unique to modern day. I don't think Egyptians did so much head binding, but that doesn't mean that every once in a while they didn't have somebody ridiculously inbred with a weird skull. Alright, so Serabit El-Khadim. Gonna take a drink. It's the Arabic name for a location on the southwest Sinai Peninsula where we mine turquoise. As with so many places, especially during the Old Kingdom, it was initially excavated by Sir Flinders Petrie, who is known to many as like the father of Egyptology. He was kind of the main guy for ancient Egypt during his time, and has made many, many significant discoveries and contributions to what we know about Egypt. Cool. This area is known for its mining camps, as we can see here, and a temple to Hathor, which is unfortunately, we don't get to see in the game. She is not a goddess on our roster of 5, but the closest would be Bastet, or Bast, as you see here, the goddess of the home. Hathor is the Hathor, Hathor. That's how I used to say it until I got told that that's not actually how you're supposed to say it. She was a goddess of many things. Particularly, she's kind of most famously known as kind of like the equivalent to Aphrodite. She's kind of like the goddess of love and dancing and fun times, but she was also the goddess of turquoise, and so that's why she, as we're excavating gems in this area, she's really popular there. She's also a protector of desert regions. She had a not so nice aspect of her known as Sekhmet, the lion-headed goddess of Egypt, or lioness-headed goddess of Egypt, I suppose is more accurate terminology. Yeah. Too many Canaanites. So the mines are on a small plateau, and a lot of the reliefs that we have from this period are destroyed because of the Brits tried to reopen this place for mines in the 19th century. But we do still have the paths that led to the temple where we get a lot of these inscriptions from. Some of these inscriptions portray the boats that they would have used to then transport the gems across the Red Sea into Egypt. Let's see, I do have pictures for you guys. This is all Meidum stuff. Serabit Khadim. So this is the Serabit, this is the Temple of Hathor out there. It's the middle of nowhere, but still some stuff that you can see. The mines, what was it? A lot of the remains from this region are Middle to New Kingdom, not so much Old Kingdom, which is what we're playing today. But there is record of mining activity in this area from this time. So King Den, he's mentioned in the mission briefing. We knew that he did stuff in this area. Some more Bedouins. These guys just cannot leave me. They are obsessed with me. Come on, guys. Jeez. Get a life. Let's do some bandstands. Making people happy. There we go. Let's see if I can improve my population. How? 47. But it's thought that the mines in this area are some of the first historically attested mines. And when I say historically, I mean like written about, because in case you didn't know, history starts with writing. So there are certainly mines that exist before the time of writing. These ones are just like kind of the first ones that we have that are written about. The Temple of Hathor dates to the 12th dynasty, but it was later enlarged by Mafave Hatshepsut and her husband, her stepson Tutmosis III, and it contained, the site when it was excavated by Flinders Petrie contained thousands of votive offerings, including 4 inscriptions on 2 small human statues. Well, there's lots of inscriptions, but particularly there's inscriptions on either side of a small stone sphinx, which so this is the plan to the Temple of Hathor. That's a reconstruction of it. How it might have looked. This is the Sphinx statue with these inscriptions that I'm about to talk about. But the temple itself is one of the few pharaonic monuments that we know about in this area. And this is where we found this thing that's called the Proto-Sinaitic script, which is this precursor to the alphabet. When they found this, they kind of immediately realized that they had something different. They knew that they were kind of hieroglyphic characters, but when they looked at it closer, they realized that it's actually more of an alphabet, whereas hieroglyphs are logograms and syllabics. It's different, basically. I'm not a linguist, so I can't really go into a lot of detail about it. But Petrie then thought, based on this, that the inscriptions were a script that the turquoise miners had basically made up themselves using signs that they borrowed from the hieroglyphics of the Egyptians. And people then built upon this once he published it, and now they think that these glyphs were kind of an early version of the signs that they later used in the Semitic languages, such as Phoenician. And so Phoenician, to like give you the trace of it, Proto-Sinaitic is now considered the earliest trace of the alphabet or alphabetic writing, and it's considered to be an ancestor to South Arabian script and the Phoenician alphabet, which led from the Phoenician alphabet. You then go to the Greek alphabet, which was influenced by that, and then you go to the Latin alphabet, and then that's where our English alphabet comes from. So it's a very long lineage, but yeah, that's where we think that all comes from. Let's do some beautification. We've got tons of money. That's nice. My poor soldiers. All right. So this Sphinx figure that we have here is one of these things that was found by Sir Flinders Petrie. It is actually, you could see it now if you wanted. Actually, no, you can't. It belongs to the British Museum. It's in their catalog, their digital catalog. That's where I get this image from. So full credit to them for having it. It's made of red sandstone, and it's thought to come from the Middle Kingdom, which is when these kind of local mines were kind of at their peak of being used. But particularly interesting about it is the inscriptions that are on it. So this, you can see here, this is the right shoulder, and it says, beloved of Hathor, mistress of turquoise, in hieroglyphs. In between the paws, which I don't have an image of, there's actually a royal name, but we can't read what it is. We could just tell, probably they could see a bit of a cartouche in it, and that's why they know it's royal, but they can't read the rest of it. But the other side of it, which is this left shoulder here, this is where we have this Proto-Sinaitic script instead. A number of words have been recognized here, which including a name of the goddess Balat, which is a Semitic, like Canaanite-ish goddess, who they probably like equated with Hathor. And this makes it pretty likely that these two inscriptions are written by, they're bilingual. Yeah. They think that these were written by, people from the Levant area who were working in the Sinai alongside Egyptians. Some of them might have been miners and battle captives. Other of them might have been guides or traders who were bringing things to that area and doing trade with them for their turquoise. Right, I've got 20 minutes now before I'm gonna end the stream. How am I doing for... I'm gonna import some beer. Oh. Need to open a trade route. Buy, sell beer. Slightly less, so... Now, I mean, if I were to beat this level, now I have to get my population up to 2,000 without collapsing my entire economy. So I've got 20 minutes to do that, and let's go for it, guys. Right, we're gonna put in a bunch more gemstone mines, because why not? And we'll do another storage yard as well. Blah, blah, blah. Another jeweler. And now that I can actually have tons of inventory, I'll put an infantry fort down here. And let's go for an archer fort too. Right. Alright, something's happening in the comments. Alright. Royal Incas. Note to archaeologists, most interesting find are found under the push sofa. Yes, that is not untrue. Do you think there's any validity for record in Sumerian king list? You'd have to be more specific about what you're talking about. Some of the king ruled for over 200 years. I think, based on my knowledge, some of these king lists, as with many other things like the Bible, that talks about, you know, the people living hundreds of years need to be taken with a grain of salt. You know, history's written by the victors, and people do exaggerate things. If a historical text is going to claim something like that, it needs to be backed up by dating evidence outside of that. So, be that radiocarbon dating or something else. What's the difference between South American and Egyptian mummifications? I mean, they're entirely different styles of mummification. You know, the Egyptian system is very heavily based on this idea of the natron salt. A lot of the Incan mummies, not all of them, but the Incan ones, they use a different method. They also are like, they mummify people for different reasons a lot of the time. Like the most famous Incan quote-unquote mummy, and that's not really a proper word to use for it anymore. The most well-known preserved remains of an Incan person is the Ice Maiden, and she was a religious sacrifice to the gods. Whereas, you know, Egyptian mummification started off as something for like kings and nobles, and then later it became something for... It became democratized for other people, so to speak. Oh, my city is going to crap now. The Bedouins! They're just making my life difficult. Come on, guys. John D. Edward Kelly. Never heard of them. So-called Enochian angels, invention of Enochian language. Never heard of that either. Not covered in any of my classes. Might be aliens of Ruth after all. Okay, well. If that's what you think, I mean... If you want to try and convince me that, you need to provide me with proof. And I don't mean, you know, somebody writing about it. I mean, like I was saying before, you need to provide... If you want me to think that these things existed, then I would expect to have a document, physical remains, an archaeological record that corresponds with this, as opposed to people writing being like, well, I don't understand this thing, so therefore I think it's this. There needs to be archaeological evidence to back it up. Hi, Mitch. What era of Egypt is this game set in? This particular level is set in the Old Kingdom, 3rd Dynasty, right before we get into building straight-sided pyramids. What do you think of the theory that the Sphinx, the original head, was a lion head that was damaged during the first renovation, so they carved the current pharaoh's head to complete it? I'm not an expert on the Sphinx. I mean, it's possible. Sorry, I'm not going to say it's possible. I'm not an expert. I can't comment on it. I don't do stone carving. I did do a bit of research on it for a documentary TV show that never went ahead, that talked about how, very interestingly, it's carved out of bedrock, as opposed to being built in place. It's carved from the bedrock. People are usually more interested in the Sphinx as to like why it doesn't have its nose, and or something to do with water weathering. But yeah, I mean, people repurposing stuff when they make a mistake or whatever is certainly not unheard of in ancient Egypt. But again, you know, until we have definitive proof, one theory is as likely as the other, so to speak. Yeah. Ooh. 5 viewers. Yeah, as Valdis said, Master of Play, if you want to claim that those things are real, or if you want people to believe that those things are real, you need to provide evidence as opposed to, I believe this is the case. That's just how science works. The reason I believe in all of this is because there is lots of data and artifacts to back up that is the case. So, yep. Is this... Have I actually changed what I... Yes, okay, I can do a courthouse now. Oh, I have so much unemployment. Oh, what do I need to do? Do another hunting lodge. Do a dance school. Yeah, I know people are annoyed with me. Go away. Oh yeah, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put the temple complex in. Everybody loves the temple complex, guys. Where can I fit it, though? This is the question. Where am I going to? This guy. I've literally left myself no space. temple complex into Ra. Ha-ha! Should be a temple complex to Hathor, but beggars can't be choosers, guys. We are limited by the resources that the game had at the time that it was made. Another hunting lodge. Yeah, all the meat. Cool. Would the third dynasty have had the wheel? I don't know. Let's look it up. Fifth dynasty, apparently. Apparently it's the fifth dynasty that they start to come into the wheel. But that being said, that's the farthest back that we found evidence for it. That doesn't mean that they didn't have it farther back. We just haven't found evidence for it yet. Obviously, with something like the wheel, it's kind of difficult because, you know, what do you make the wheel out of? Wood. And other kind of like biological materials. Those things just don't last in archaeological contexts as long as something like stone, which you wouldn't make wheels out of. So, yeah. And yeah, good question, Eyes Open. Is it the wheel for travel or the potter's wheel? Potter's wheel, I believe, is that a Roman thing? No, I think that's a specific type of potter's wheel, actually. No, potter's wheel goes back to the Sumerians. What am I talking about? I'm thinking of technology that the Romans brought to Britain. Oh, it's apparently it's an Indus Valley thing as well. In ancient Egyptian mythology, the deity Khnum is said to have formed the first humans on a potter's wheel. So yes, they did have the potter's wheel. Oh, you mean the carts? The carts in the game. Good spot. I mean, again, it's a limitation of the game in that they haven't graded us up in terms of technology of the walkers through the game. They've just graded us up in terms of the different monuments that we've been able to build, and also kind of the expansion of different buildings that we're able to have. But yeah, unfortunately in this game they've had carts since the prehistoric times. Oh, the Bedouin are back. They're back to bother me. These guys are so annoying. How do you upload shorts via live stream? Still better than the remake. Joaquim, I don't really know what you're saying about the shorts. I upload shorts through either YouTube Creator or like on my phone. I edit them on my computer though because I hate using phone editors for video. I mean I can do it, I just don't particularly enjoy it. The only one that's semi-decent is Instagram, and even them, that's really buggy. LOL, just a game. Dodge owners probably pushed carts, yeah. To be fair, the first carts that Egyptians would have been two-wheeled rather than four-wheeled, but their most famous wheeled thing was the chariots, but those don't come into play until the Second Intermediate Period in the New Kingdom. Those darn Hyksos that we were talking about earlier, they're the ones that bring the chariot to Egypt, which essentially revolutionized their entire military and allowed them to build the empire in the New Kingdom. Oh, I just had a ping for your Berlin meme short. That's interesting that you just had it now, because I uploaded it yesterday. I did not upload it during the live, no. I uploaded it yesterday. That's probably just YouTube and the algorithm being like, oh, I'm not really sure if you're going to want to know about this right away. It's going to be like after I've had a chance to think about it. But in terms of like when I do stuff, you know, I do, aside from these streams, when I'm like actually live, I generally, nothing I do is like at the time when I'm uploading it. Does that make sense? So a lot of the time, I will do things like days in advance, and I schedule it to go live at a certain time. And I do this because most of the time, like, I try to stage my I try to have my stuff go up at peak times when the most amount of people are going to see it. So a lot of the times that tends to be like at noon or like right on 5 o'clock, which also somehow happens to be when I'm usually at work. So what I'll do is like beforehand, I draft and make the whole thing, and then for YouTube Shorts, I schedule it like I do for all of my videos, and then it just goes up. I just don't do a premiere for it. But for Instagram, because Instagram, the API is designed solely for phones and not for desktop. Basically, it's really not good for scheduling. So if you have the Instagram app, you can't schedule to have stuff go live, which is really annoying. You have to use either Creator Studio, which is something that's made by Meta, but Creator Studio is not well made, and the best features and everything's optimized and is designed to be used on the app, so it's just easier to do it on the app. Basically what I do is I create my entire draft of the video, I put it in Instagram, I create it, and then I save it as a draft, and then I put a reminder in my calendar for like the day and time that I want to post it, and then I post it. And at that point, all I have to do is like click a button. But yeah, I really wish that Instagram would implement being able to schedule posts, because it's just like, posting to Instagram is actually one of my very least favorite things about trying to run like a public social media account, because it's just really frustrating. Like, you know, you film everything on your phone. I find editing on my phone just doesn't, it can't keep up with like some of the editing that I want to do. So I will have to then export it from my phone onto my computer, put it in the program on my computer that I want to edit it in, which is a freeware version, because I don't make enough money off of YouTube ads and stuff like that to pay for Adobe Premiere Pro or whatever. So I have to put it in that, and I edit it together, and then I have to export it. I have to put it back on my phone, and then I have to go into Instagram. I have to add a few features on Instagram that this program that I have doesn't do as well. Usually it's captions, blah, 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 blah. So it's just like, there's too many steps. I wish I could make it easier. But that's actually probably an excellent segue into saying that if you like me, support me on Ko-fi. If you like what I'm doing here, you can give me a super thanks on any of my videos or this chat. You can go to Ko-fi and make a donation for however much money you want. It could be $1, $2. I had one person give me like $50 at one point. Sorry, £50. It's more than $50, which I'm exceedingly grateful for. I am working on setting up memberships to my channel. I'm hoping to launch those around Christmas season time. And yeah, we're about to end the stream. I want to know, because you guys are like, as you know, my like, what's the word I'm looking for? You're my focus group for stuff to do with my channel. Oh no, I've gone away from the chat. What have I done? Yes, I know. If you guys watched the latest edition of Archaeology News, which, why haven't you? If you're here, go watch it. I'm not able to link it at the end of this stream because, again, of the way that YouTube works, because it's not an upcoming video. The Archaeology News, I did this new thing where I have been accepted into Google Studio, Google Earth Studio, something like that, where you basically have access to like Google Earth and you can geolocate things. So I did that for my latest video to try and show you guys where these discoveries are coming from for the top discovery segment. And I had to, again, it's a very complicated program for what I want it to do. So it's a bit of a learning process. It wasn't perfect the first time, but did you guys notice that? Did you find it helpful at all? Let me know in the comment, let me know in the chat or the comments if you're watching this video after we finish the stream. I'd just like to know if people found that helpful or a useful addition to the videos at all. That would be good to know. Joaquim, when do you think the next Pharaoh live stream will be so we can play again? Next Friday. Yes, it will be Friday. So this Friday, okay. Follow Inside Archaeology, subscribe. We do lots of cool things. I post every other Friday videos on my channel. Some of them are regular series, some of them are not. I've been in the groove lately of doing Archaeology News, Ask an Archaeologist. That is going to be broken up soon. But every month I do Archaeology News on kind of usually like the first week of the month. I stream before each of my video premieres. I premiere videos every other Friday. So I try to do them about 2 to 1.5 hour ones, so you can stay for as long or as little as you like. So yes, yes, and it was really, oh, I'm glad that you liked the animations, Joaquim. I'm glad. I'm trying to make the little travel pinpoint thing larger, but it's code. And I mean, I'm very lucky because my husband is essentially a like mechanical, electrical, computer engineer, so he can very much help me with a lot of these things, but I do like to learn to do them myself. Okay, well, I'm gonna stockpile these. Is there... Oh, right. Storage yard. I'm gonna have to go back and play this level to beat it. When do you think... Yeah, okay. Do you get much into DNA clues? I talk about them in my streams sometimes in terms of discoveries. I personally am not a lab tech, so I don't know the specifics of how DNA testing works when it comes to archaeology, but certainly there is a lot being done with it now, as the technology is being improved and made, like, I think a lot more cost effective. So it's becoming a lot more popular for people to use, and I think we're going to have some really exciting discoveries coming out from it. But of course, we also have to balance it a lot of this time with this idea of like ancient DNA and a lot of these scientific processes. They do destroy whatever sample or harm this sample that you're taking, and that has to be balanced with the benefits of the knowledge that we would gain from it. You know, taking the sample itself might be a bit destructive process. So this is one of the kind of key themes that underpins archaeology, is that we have to balance, you know, what we do is essentially destructive at its core, and we have to balance that with what we're going to be able to learn from what we do. Anyway, so last bit of stream. Follow me on Instagram. I post I think more frequently in there, especially stories. You'll get more updates about streams and stuff there. Subscribe to the channel. If you like what I do and you feel like it and it's your bag, you know, share it with people, spread the reach of the channel. The more people that join us, the more that I can do with this, because, you know, the more support I have, it means that I can just get more revenue, get more AdSense, etc. And right now, I invest all of my profits that I make off of anything to do with the channel back into what I'm doing, either through subscriptions to software or better equipment or whatever. Another exciting thing, so my Friday stream, we're going to be doing I think we'll be doing Snefru, the guy before Khufu. The video that's premiering this week is Ask an Archaeologist with Disha Aluwalia. She's an Indian archaeologist. So she lives, works, excavates in India. She is studying for her PhD on painted gray ware culture pottery. I had a really excellent time speaking to her, and her interview is really interesting, especially coming from India. There's a lot of people that watch the channel from India, so it's really nice to be able to bring you guys something from there, kind of outside the Western world, so to speak. So I'm very excited for Dish's video to premiere, and we will be streaming before it. I also have another video that is coming out on Monday this week that is about merch for the channel. So it's a little short five-minute one. It's not super long, but yeah, basically I've designed some archaeology themed merch that is available for you to purchase, and I'm going to be telling you all about it in a video that's coming up on Monday. So mark it in your calendars, guys. Awesome. So I think that's going to be the end of the stream. That's my spiel. Thank you so much for coming and watching me, you guys. There are 5 of you here, according to my count. I've enjoyed having you here. I always enjoy kind of doing these streams. Well, they feel a bit weird sometimes because I can just hear myself and I feel like I ramble a bit, and I don't know if sometimes I'm a bit all over the place with what I'm talking about, because I try, like, in terms of balancing what I have researched to say and then questions that people are asking me, especially when they're ad hoc and I don't have like answers prepared for them, but do the best I can. I hope that this has been an enjoyable use of however long you've watched this for, and I hope that the rest of you have a good rest of your weekend, and hopefully I will see you again next week on Friday when we get back to our regular schedule. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you on my next stream. Don't forget to stay curious, and oh, well, does anybody want to see the kitten? Let me know if you want to see the cat. I'll wait for a reply because I have a 60-second delay, and if anybody wants to see the cat, I will maybe get her to see if she'll come off her perch to say goodbye to everyone. Eyes open. I'm from Canada, and I have dug in Canada. I've dug in Canada during the winter. Was not my favorite time. I've also done it during the summer when it was hot, and I have friends who work in archaeology in Canada. So One of the future aspirations that I have for the channel is to get to a point where I can go on a dig and take you guys along with me. That would be like my dream. Emma! Oh yeah, okay. You wanna come say hello? Oh, she's been sleeping. So I know people are supposed to say that you're not supposed to wake up your cats. But look at how sweet she is. Yes, who's my little goddess? Who's my little Egyptian cat goddess? You say bye-bye? You say bye-bye to the stream? Yeah, you're so sleepy. You're gonna pretend like you're gonna fall asleep in my arms, but you're not. Okay, I'll put you back. Hey, master of play, don't insult my cat. She's beautiful. She is the best thing. She's the best girl. She's so good. She's just sleepy. Okay, let's put you back on your trip. All right, guys. Thanks so much for coming along. And except for that one person who thinks my cat's evil. She's not. She's the best thing. She's the best girl. I'll see you guys all next time. I've realized I've said goodbye like 6 times, so I'm actually going to end it now. Okay. Bye.